Hey everybody. So what I'm going to do for this assignment is I'm going to show you how I created this. So I've already made a Tyus Jones design, a JJ Redick design, and then I'm going to create a design for my favorite player of all time, which is the reason why I became a huge fan of Duke basketball. And so I want to walk you through how I did this. And so we'll get his name on here, okay? And then I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna walk you through exactly what I did to create this edit. Okay, so hopefully this is gonna help you a little bit to understand what I did for this design. Okay, so I'm gonna make him a little bit bigger, and so we have something like this. Now, I'm gonna pull this down to where he's near the other designs I've got. Okay, and so I'm gonna hide this picture, and then with this image here, so I'm gonna delete some of this extra stuff here. I'm gonna make this bigger and then go ahead and delete this. All right, so I'm gonna start with that. Okay, now with this picture, I'm gonna go with a filter, and so I started with this, and then I add the filter, go into filter gallery. Wait, hold on. Let's get on the right layer here. Filter, filter gallery, and then I started with a poster edge. And so I ended up going probably a little more like this for my design. Okay, so now I've got something like that. Okay, then what I did is I went and added another filter. So I went to filter gallery, and then I went into texture, and then I added this texture. Okay, and then click OK. Now, when I go back in here, I want to clean a little bit of this up. So I'm going to use my eraser tool, make it really small. Hold on. General brush here. Check this. And then just make it a lot smaller. Okay, and then I just wanted to clean up some of this extra stuff that shouldn't be in the picture. And then make it even smaller. Probably a waste of time, but there you go. Okay, so now I'm gonna go zoom back out. So I started with this, and so the reason I created that part is just to give it a little more of an effect to it. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I go in here, and then I ended up going image, adjustments, threshold. And so now I've got something like this going on. And so it's up to you what you end up doing with that in terms of how much you want to add, remove, whatever. Okay. Now, when I look at this, see how it's blue and white instead of black and white? So then I go into here and I grab my magic wand and I make sure the contiguous box is checked. If it's checked, it just selects a couple that are connected. So make sure it's unchecked, and then it's going to select all of the black pixels. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the blue that I want to use, and then I use the brush, make it as big as I want to, and then this should color everything in. And then I'm just going to draw over it just again, just to make sure. And then when I'm done with that, I deselect it. There we go. All right. So now I've got this part going on. Now the next thing I do is when I look at this, you see all these little marks that I've got going around. Okay, so I just use some splatter brushes, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to add another layer, but I'm going to go behind this layer. So I'm going to add this layer to right here. And then with that, I'm going to make this a lot smaller. Now, as I use these brushes, we've used these before, but just to make sure that you're doing this correctly, I went into Window, Brushes, and then I go into brush presets and I change the shape dynamic. Size jitter, I leave that the same. Angle jitter, I change it to 100%. And what that does is it's going to rotate my brush every time I click on it. So I'll hide that now. And then on a new layer with white, I'm going to start adding to my overall design here. Okay, and so I'm going to have, and it's kind of, here, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more so I can see the whole picture here. And so I'm on a separate layer, so I'm on a layer behind it. So I'm adding this brush. I'm going to make it be a little bit bigger here. And so I can do whatever I feel is going to look the best for the overall design. And so I may have a couple of splatters going on. I may have a couple other shapes going on. And so it's up to you, kind of whatever you see fit that's probably going to look the best. Okay? And so you can kind of see how it overlaps the whole design here. And so when I look at some of these other ones that I've got, and all I'm doing is clicking. And so with this, you see how the border kind of goes all around it. And then with this one, I've got the background that kind of goes mostly around it. And then with this part here, it's a little bit of blue. So I added a little bit into that spot, probably like right on the edges. And then I'm going to make a bigger brush here, so it kind of fits the overall design a little bit more. Okay? And then if you want to erase anything, you can do whatever you want to. Okay, so that's kind of essentially how I went about this design. And then the last thing that I end up doing is I go onto this layer and I use the eraser tool. And I've got that one, but I want to go into this brush. And so I'm going to make this much smaller. And what I'm going to do is just erase a couple little portions of his shoulder, just so it kind of blends in a little bit. So it gives it a little more of an artistic flair to it. Not a lot, but just a little bit to, touch up the overall design. So it kind of blends in, kind of doesn't. And so you get some interesting effects going on through this. Okay, so there you go. That's how I go about this. And so we go from, I had this picture, and then I had this picture, and then I had this one. And so this one's clearly my favorite because this is my favorite player of all time. So there you go. That's how I created that design. So I hope that helps you. If you end up doing something similar to that, go for it. Good for you. But I hope you got something out of this overall design. All right. So good luck with this project. I hope you're having a good time with it, and I hope you're coming up with some cool creative edits. So good luck the rest of the way, and as always, email me if you have questions. See ya.